When we put the word out that we were going to be sitting down with you, of course, we had some listener questions. Before we get going, thanks again for having us in your kitchen and your home, opening up, sharing your life's journey in beekeeping with us, and also everyone listening, because it's these kind of conversations that I really do think not only inspire folks, but it motivates them to keep moving, to keep pushing, to be tenacious, and also to be that lighthouse for others. So thanks again for having us here.
Well, thank you. I'll just say one more thing is, again, it's that tenacity. Anybody can do what I've done. I truly believe that I don't have any special talents as far as like this separates me from the pack because, Kamon has a special skill in beekeeping. There's none of that. It's just I don't stop trying. And I think anybody who can do the same, you can actually probably do way better than me. I know beekeepers who literally got the right information and did in 3 or 4 years what it took me 12 to do. And we're going to see more and more of those people. I know we are. So everyone just needs to, even if you lost all your bees this last year, you're going to do it. Just keep at it. All right, how about those questions?
Okay, so some of these questions came in and we've kind of covered in the talk earlier, but we'll kind of go over them again because maybe you might have a different approach on it. But Terry Bishop asks, what got you into beekeeping?
Mainly just seeing the bees work. I already loved agriculture quite a bit. I think I've explained this before on my YouTube channel as well, but basically, I saw a fellow that had just a handful of hives, that had 2 types of honey. It was totally unlike anything I'd ever seen. It tasted amazing, totally different from anything in the store. And I just thought, wow, this is a great product that I could have at the farmer's market. I wanted to be involved with these creatures and to learn about them. I always just, everything that's outdoorsy, I want to know about it. I want to be a part of it, or at least learn something about it. Even if I don't do it, I want to learn something. So, bees obviously are one of the coolest creatures in the world. So it didn't take much. After seeing them work in an observation hive or two and tasting that honey and seeing the impacts that they had on people in history, we don't see as much today because we have so many synthetic waxes instead of beeswax, and we have artificial sugars and all kinds of sweeteners. But back in, you don't really have to go that far back in honey and beeswax and all these things. I mean, they were vital. And still in many countries who don't have the economic structure that we do, they are revered and prized. So, after doing a lot of reading and stuff, I was just blown away by the bees, and I just had to be a part of it. And so I started when I was about 15, and it has just been more dominating. I got out of everything else I was doing over time just so I could focus more and more on the bees, because it's just such a awesome thing.
As you've grown your business, Terry McCarsky asks, well, what is the biggest hurdle in growing your business?
You are your biggest hurdle. Getting a little deep there.
That's good.
But seriously, you are your biggest hurdle. You are limited. You don't have enough education. You don't have enough experience. And you've got to find a way to address those things.
We trip over ourselves a lot, don't we?
We do. Well, and sometimes we listen to the wrong people. And the biggest obstacle in getting the business up is really the core. First of all, you got to have your mindset right. But that also impacts the core of beekeeping, which is keeping your bees healthy and thriving. And if you can't keep your bees in a sustainable manner, then it doesn't matter how much money you throw into this. Bees are really dynamic. It's not like some of the other industries where it's a little bit more gentle. You get into it, you could have 1,000 colonies and lose like literally everything in a year. And you could just totally lose your shirt. And I urge people not to get in over their heads. Take it a little bit slow. And the best type of growth is the growth that you can do with your bees. If you got 50 hives and you're doing good with that, you're sustainable, or 10 hives or whatever that number is, if you can't sustainably double that each year, then you don't need to be buying 100 more bees and trying to increase. I mean, you shouldn't. Now, I've done that. You want to talk about throwing a pile of money on a fire, but you gotta fix the core. Having trucks and fancy equipment and all this stuff will come if your bees are healthy and that core is healthy, because it's going to make you money, and then that money goes into buying all those tools. I see a lot of beekeepers get all this fancy equipment. I mean, I've been doing this for several years, and I look at some beekeepers who have been in it for 3 to 5 years and have a third of the hives, or not even that many hives, and they have way better extraction equipment, way better vehicles. They have forklifts. They have all kinds of stuff. You grow with your business. Financially speaking, if you can't afford, if the business can't pay for it, unless you know for sure that it is going to help and pay for itself immediately, you don't buy it, or you find a used one that you can't afford. I drive that old truck. So again, you've got to get that core. Those bees are the lifeblood. And literally, if those bees are healthy and you're doing good, you could triple or quadruple your operation. So you need to get to that point where you can do that. And if you can, you're going to grow fast.
Quality queens, dead mites, good nutrition. I've heard you say that over and over again.
Close.
Okay.
Great queens, dead mites, and good nutrition. But
great. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you got to get it right, or it's not as powerful.
Great queens, dead mites, good nutrition. Megan Durst asks, how do you treat for mites, Kamon?
Well, that is something that is constantly changing as things change. And then again, the test yard that we're doing, that's one of the reasons we're doing it, is to isolate which treatments work the best and under what conditions. It's unfortunate that we're still in this stage that we're asking these questions, but it's a complicated issue. What I have been using primarily during my periods of success, not back several years ago, but the years that I'm actually keeping my own bees alive and all that stuff, is using Apiguard Thymol. In hot weather, I'll use it on, instead of using 2 doses of 50 cc's or whatever it is that they recommend, you always follow the label. They also say that you can use it where you use like 30 instead and do 3 rounds and spread it out. So I usually do that because it's hot. So I'll do the Apiguard Thymol in summer. You'll have to adjust it to your season. I pull honey supers in June. I like to get them off early. Even if I maybe miss a little bit of honey, get it off there. The bees can have that honey come in. I've got to get those mites dead. And that way the bees will be way healthier. And then I'm going to treat again in the fall. And usually I would rotate. Usually it was Apiguard and then oxalic acid with a timed split. So I got a brood break, so it was more effective. Or for a couple years I was using Apivar, which is a synthetic. I'm stopping using that because I'm not getting the kill rates off of that I'd like to. And I don't like to use it because it's not as natural. So basically Apiguard in June or Apivar in June, and then whichever one I didn't use, or I did use, I would use the other one in August. We've got to keep those populations low. And then in wintertime, 2 rounds of oxalic acid vapor. I think it's very important to do that. And doing it around temperatures that are in the mid 40s is ideal. Maybe a little bit warmer would be better. But if we want bees that are really thriving, we've got to keep those mites under control.
What temperature are you talking about when you're treating them that late? When are you treating? What temperatures are you in Fahrenheit?
Like the oxalic acid? Yeah, so like treating about 45 to 50 degrees. And we want to do that in December here. One of the reasons I've actually switched to Carney bees over Italians is for multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons is because they actually almost always give me a brood break in winter, in December, right before the winter solstice. And that brood break is so important at killing high percentages of mites. My Italians, on a mild winter here in Tennessee, which can be very, very mild, December can be easily 50 degrees on average, I can have a frame of brood, and all those mites, by and large, are going to be in that brood trying to reproduce and affecting the colony. So I like those carnies so I can get a nice clean kill. Unfortunately, most of our management is into controlling those mites. But yeah, that's what we do right now.
Dead mites. So speaking of quality queens, Tim McCandless asks about your availability of queens this year. And if you have some available, he promises he's not going to kill them again.
Okay. Well, I've said that before about my queens too. No, our availability, we don't really take a whole lot of pre-orders. That's the problem that we're at right now with the business, is between the YouTube, conference, networking, stuff like this podcast, running our bees, putting in a new bottling system, trying to handle all that. I can't juggle pre-orders.
Can't do it all, yeah.
I can't do it all. And so I do plan on selling hundreds of queens again this year. But I also have contacts that some of these guys already are like, hey, just let me know, man. Count me in for 25 again this year. And, UPS is who I ship through. It's like 45 minutes away. So, I can't sell like go all the way there for 2 queens. I just can't do it. And so we don't really take pre-orders. I don't like doing that because it puts a lot of stress on us. So I'll basically raise the queens. I'm like, all right, I've got 100. And I'll put the word out. And thankfully, I'm in a position where I can sell those pretty easily. When the time comes and I have extras available, Facebook, I'll announce it there. I won't do it on YouTube because I'll just get filleted if I say, hey, everybody, I got queens available. And then it's like, oh my goodness.
It's a good spot to be in.
It is. It's frustrating. We have got to find somebody like Ian has, like Carrie, somebody who can come in and do a great job and produce those queens. We have the bees to be able to produce probably about 2,000 queens a year, but someone's going to have to just like totally,
it's a full-time thing.
Full time, and they could do more than that. I mean, honestly, but I just don't have the time to do that anymore. And that's where it kind of gets hard, is that I could probably raise 1,500 queens a year and do a little bit of honey on the side and sell some nukes, but then there's no YouTube channel. There's no conferences.
You can't do it all.
There's no test yard, that's for sure. So that's taking up a lot of my time this year. So it's a sticky situation, pun intended.
Speaking of the test yard, I know you're going to have a lot more information on what it is exactly that you're doing in the test yard. We have a mutual sponsor with Premier Bee Products. Do you have any initial thoughts on Premier's plastic foundation?
Well, I do, and I've used several types, and I really try to be honest. And so when I saw I've heard about them for a while. You just hear rumors about companies and whatnot. So, I heard, another plastic foundation company. Like we really needed that.
Right.
Honestly, I felt like we didn't. So I'm like, good luck. I don't wish them any ill will, but there's already, Acorn, which I've done business with, and I like their product, and other companies out there that, will get the job done. And so I didn't think much of it. Well, a couple of, the beekeeping guys, this is where the YouTube channel comes in handy for me, is they start throwing information my way, and eventually some of the stuff sticks, and some of it's actually really good. And they're like, what do you think of Premier? I'm like, I don't know. It's a plastic foundation. And I had a friend of mine that's like, hey, man, you really need to check this out. And then he's like, hey, let's see if I talk to him about being a sponsor for you. So it's like, that'd be fine. Foundation is foundation. Well, I got them, and they're different. They have more cells. That's the number one thing. It's huge, especially if you're like me. I think it's huge for everybody. But if you're running a single brood management system, we produce honey on colonies that have one deep box for brood. So the queen only has that one 10-frame box. So compared to the right cell that I've been using, I literally get like 5,500 or something like that more cells in there. That is huge. And that really is because it's all about swarm control. That queen doesn't need to run out of room to lay, period. So the more, the merrier. And then if you think that's up there in the honey supers, that can really contribute. So that was what really kind of surprised me the most, is, oh, wow, I can get more cells. Because that affects the bottom line. It really does. Especially over the course of 300 colonies. That's a lot of bees. So there's that, but also when it arrived, I've ordered a lot of foundation. I've actually waxed my own foundation for many years, just roll it on and whatnot to give it extra wax, and this is the best smelling stuff I've ever.
That's what I was going to say.
It's great.
When I spoke with Jeff sponsoring the Contrary Beekeeper Show and also the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel with Premier Bee Products Foundation, and he does a very good job of articulating why it is that they're different. And he said one of the biggest things that you'll notice is when you pop it out of the box, the smell. And I got to say, as soon as I pulled out that sheet of foundation out of your box here in your barn and smelled it, I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
It just, I think they're using what, A.H. Myers, not
Capping,
only cappings, but the foundation is also made in the U.S. So I think that's important too. But I just thought it'd be interesting to see kind of how that plays out, because it also dabbles in some different things where a lot of us who came from treatment free or are doing natural beekeeping or are still on the fence with small cell, although the cells aren't small cell. Like Jeff says, they have a thinner cell wall. There's over 3,000 more cells per frame. That's possibly more cells for honey or more cells for brood. That could actually be something that is a force multiplier in a hive, where one change or one little component can actually make a big deal. And I think it's important to look, entertain ideas like that.
It is. Well, again, I just thought it was an average foundation initially, and it's not. And so I think that it's going to do really well for my bees. Bees love that smell. I love that smell. Yeah. And I've been around beeswax for quite a while, and there is a big difference in grades of beeswax, and this stuff is top notch. And that can make a huge difference. There's a generous amount of wax, and it's high quality wax. And I think the bees are going to really appreciate that. I haven't yet to try it out, but all indicators look really positive on trying that out in the test yard. It could be a force multiplier. And we were talking about tools and growing a bee yard and things. Bruce Brown asks, have you been using the Hive Lifter? I have, just a little bit, and it's crazy. There's been several things that I've purchased this winter, and I haven't been able to use much because we're just go all the time, and just having a hard time finding times to make videos on certain things, and also just to be able to try some stuff out. I've hardly used that lifter, just a little bit. I really like what I'm seeing. It's going to be in some videos this year. It's made up in Canada by a guy named Boris, and I haven't got him to say moose and squirrel for me yet, but I'm working on it. And but on all seriousness, it seems really nice. I want to do a good video on it when I get things set up. It's going to be an adjustment on how I have my bee yards, because I've got to set my bee yards to work with the lift. Things aren't very level around here, but I'm excited. I think it's going to help me out a lot. Again, I'm tired of doing videos where I just kind of, here's a video on it. I want to make sure I'm very methodical, and I definitely want to use the product for a little while, but I think it's going to be awesome, and I think I'm going to be able to suggest it for other people to buy without any reservations.
You do have a lot of hives here that are palletized, and I have seen some two-way pallets. Michael Jordan asks, what do you prefer, or what's better? And that's a loaded question.
Oh yeah, well, there's
a four-way or a two-way.
Oh, none of those things are better. They're all good. It depends on what better. I guess it depends on your definition of what you want. Four-ways are obviously better if you have a forklift. It's more efficient. If you're doing the pollination game and you're moving bees around, then two-ways are not the best way to do it. Obviously, two-ways are a possibility, though, and it all depends on your operation. That's kind of the cool part about beekeeping, is you can tailor it to your desires, your creativity, or your specific situation. I love the two-way pallets because I don't have to get, this lifter I got from Canada. We're looking at the ballpark range of, shipping and everything, $1,700, $1,800. It's not too bad, especially for what I'm doing. I can pick up the two-way pallets. I can pick up individual supers with it. It's got two different attachments, and the two-way pallets are very manageable for me to be able to use that lift. If I want something that can pick up a four-way pallet, I'm going to have to talk into some big dollars
bucks.
And something to move a big piece of equipment like
Right.
that. And that's just not the type of operation I have. I love the two-way pallets, though. They're more stable than just having like a single bottom board. They can flip over easier or just different things. So I think the two-way pallets actually can be made cheaper than a regular bottom board as well. They're tougher. I think they're great. I've been wanting to actually put together a video on how to save money and build these things, but I just have not had a chance to edit that and put it up yet. But I love the two-way pallet system. I think more and more hobby and sideline small professional beekeepers are going to go the two-way pallet method for sure. But four ways, I've got about 10 four-way pallets that I use, and the only thing about the four ways that I don't like is you can only access them from the sides. Where the two-way pallets, you can go from the sides and from behind. Right. And a lot of people like to work the bees from the sides only anyways, but sometimes it's handy to get to from behind as well. And especially when Laurel and I are tag team in a hive, you can have one person on the side, one person behind it, and it's really easy for that. So again, personal preference, but we're going to see more two-way pallets in the future, I'm confident.
Kamon, I want to say thanks again for taking the time out to sit down at the family table and let us into your life, into your beekeeping, and share with us your journey through beekeeping. Where can folks find out more about Kamon Reynolds moving forward?
Well, always follow us on YouTube if you like that kind of thing. There's a bell you can hit that'll give you notifications on our videos. We also have playlists. I think that's what a lot of people miss out on. If you go to the playlist on the main page, you can actually see specific genres of beekeeping, whether it's queen rearing, maybe videos on pallets, making those or using them, or supplements or whatever. We try to be more organized, or like this test yard coming up. It'll be on there. You can follow me on Facebook. A lot of times I don't accept friend requests because I really don't have time to see what you ate for breakfast that morning. And seriously, it's nothing personal. I just can't handle that. So if you'll follow me on there, you can see when I'm going to be at an event or anything like that. And you can always email me. I may not get back to you. I'll try to if I can, at Tennessee'sBees@gmail.com. So that's Tennessee with an S, no apostrophe. Tennessee's BEES@gmail.com. And those are 3 pretty good ways to get a hold of me.
If you're listening to this and you're wondering, how do I spell Tennessee? You're not the only one, because I can spell Mississippi, but Tennessee, I'm not a real big fan of all the technology, but I got to say, I kind of like the autocorrect thing on Tennessee because I can get it right almost every time.
We're actually probably going to be moving a lot of our stuff to Hive Life. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be going Kamon Reynolds Hive Life instead of Kamon Reynolds at Tennessee's Bees, because the email will remain the same. But when I started this YouTube channel, it was mainly for Tennesseans and surrounding states. And we have people that we're dealing with out of country constantly and all across this country. So we really feel like we needed to change the name for multiple reasons. And our conference is called Hive Life. So that's a change that's going to be coming up in the near future. So you can probably still type in Kamon Reynolds Tennessee's Bees and you'll find everything, but that is something that you'll see change in the future.
Kamon, I've really enjoyed the time that we spent together. Thanks again, and we're looking forward to seeing where all this journey goes in the future.
And Greg, I've really enjoyed it as well. It's good to meet you and your son, and we will, I'm sure, cross paths again in the future.
So as always, be the lighthouse.
Be good.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time, guys. Hey, can you help us out? Hit like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and be sure to check these great videos out too.